Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, the live TV show all about the legal aspects of your business to help educate you on complex legal terms in an easy to understand manner, to help understand why you need to do certain things in your business from a legal point of view, and to help you develop a plan for the future. Our mission at Business Legal Lifecycle is to help empower all small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. Have you ever wanted to get legal advice but didn't understand what was going on? Do you feel like there is a divide between lawyers and their clients? Then this TV show is for you. It is all about empowering you and your business with the knowledge and tools to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. Business Legal Lifecycle TV delivers a twice-weekly show focusing on the legal aspects of your business. At lunchtime on Mondays, we present Fast Fix Monday, a quick 5 to 10 minute show that will give you some actionable steps to consider for the week for your business. And at lunchtime on Wednesdays, we present our in-depth show of between 30 minutes and an hour, where we go through complicated legal aspects of your business in a simple to understand, plain English manner. And whether that is through educational pieces or interviews with experts in their fields. Hi everyone, and welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. As you know, my name is Jeremy Stretton, and with me today is Craig Mason.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us.
And today we're continuing our discussion in January 2018 on Phase 6 of the Business Legal Lifecycle, maximising your business and bringing in investors. So for those who are watching on the live show on Facebook or on the YouTube or Twitter, I've just switched over to a picture of the Business Legal Lifecycle. So Phase 6 is the last phase of the consolidation part of the Business Legal Lifecycle, and is all about when you should basically look at consolidating your business before you actually go ahead. And today's topic is we've called reassessing your business structure. And the reason that we're going to talk about that today is that it's something that's often missed when people go through their phases of the business legal life cycle. And phase 6 is at the bottom of the dip, as we call it in the business legal life cycle, and is all about preparing everything right so that you can scale into the next 4 phases, getting ready for sale in the future. So today's is about reassessing your business structure, as I said. And basically, this is all about what you need to do to actually put the right chocks in place for your business so that you're ready to scale. So in my previous talks and the shows that we've done, we've talked about business structures. And this is really a time to actually reassess those structures. And we're going to talk about today what it is. And so anyone who can see the slides will see that I've got that up there. Why you should consider reassessing, what to look out for in the reassessment. And then we're going to go back through the structures. And the reason that we're going to do that is that we want to reassess why you should go through these structures and what you should actually do in the reassessment process. So what is reassessment? As I've said, this is where you want to look at your structure. You might want to look at the structure that you've got the business. If you've been a sole trader, or if you've been or you've been someone else or a company, you might want to look at, well, what are the other structures and why they actually might need to apply. So this is all about doing that. I'm going to flick over to Craig to talk about why you should reassess, and then I'm going to talk about what to look out for, and then we're going to go through the different types of structures. So Craig, do you want to go through why you should reassess your business structure?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously when you start out in business, if you followed the business legal life cycle, you're going to get certain things done at the beginning. And, if you just put all that in the drawer somewhere and never look at it again and don't think about it, then you potentially are going to come into some troubles. And particularly when you're in this phase, things might have changed. You might have changed your mind about what you're doing, where the business is going, those sorts of things. So obviously there's nothing wrong with changing your mind. It's just working out the best way forward from there. So that's why you need to reassess and look at these sorts of things. There could be some changes for legislation and those sorts of things as well. So you need to reassess it on a regular basis, so you can, obviously take advantage of the legislation changes or some other reason as to why you should be structuring. So a lot of people might think, oh, I've done it all. I did it at the beginning, spoke to the accountant, spoke to the lawyer. Thank you very much. I'm done. But it's something that could be in the too hard basket, and you're not going to think about it again. So we've encouraged everyone, particularly in this phase of your business, to do exactly what we're talking about now and reassess your structure. And this is from a legal and an accounting point of view. So as I mentioned before, there could be legislation changes. The big one for that is tax law changes. So they might be different now to what they were when you first started. And there could be tax benefits for restructuring or savings to do the restructuring. So you want to talk to your accountant about those sorts of things, obviously. And as part of that, from a tax point of view, you also want to talk to your lawyer as part of your team as to, from a legal point of view, that there's not going to be any problems with the changes. So if you do it right, speak to your consultants, and we're pretty big on that, is having a team of consultants and talking to them and have them working together as well. So one person's not saying the other thing and it's affecting the other, so everyone's working together. If you get that right advice, then this is probably the best time potentially to reassess your structure, and if it is advantageous, then to make those changes now. There's obviously a lot of different things you need to think about. Tax law is one of them. It could be a change in the type of business or whatever it might be, but now's the time to reassess it. We'd encourage everyone, as I said, the whole team, get involved, lawyer, accountant, business coach, or your consultants, to get together and to talk about the reassessment process. And it might be that you talk about it and then you don't do anything, but we'd encourage everyone to have a think about it at this phase, and that's the reason why we say reassess your business structure. Jeremy, do you want to add anything there, or do you want to go on to the next slide, which is what to look out for?
Yeah, no, I think you've covered everything up there, Craig. I'll click on to the what to look out for. So, yeah, what to look out for. So this is an interesting question, and it's really something that you really need to look at on a case-by-case basis. So often people think that legal advice is vanilla and they don't need to actually look at their specific structure, and they can get advice from their friends and it doesn't change. It's just not true. Unfortunately, as Craig said, the law changes from time to time. Not only the law changes, but your situation changes. And your own situation may change in many different ways and may cause you to need a different type of structure. If you're going to bring in investors, and you're a sole trader, well, you can't do that. You need to bring in investors through a company structure or a partnership structure or some other structure, and we'll talk about those in a minute in the context of structures in reassessing your business structure. But all too often, what we see clients who go and get legal advice and accounting advice at the startup, and then they grow for 10, 15 years, and then they go to sell their business, and it's just not set up correctly for what they want. So you need to constantly look at things. You need to constantly look at what you can do to upgrade your business. The laws also come in, currently in Australia, there are rules around being able to reassess your business structure and actually roll it over into another structure if that's better for you. There's tax breaks for those things from a capital gains tax point of view. So you need to know what the law is, and you don't know what you don't know. We say that a lot in this show, but it's true. You just simply don't know what you don't know. So you need to be able to recognize that and go and get the advice that you need when you need it. So make sure you get some advice, because you never know what might change based on what you're trying to do in your business. So I wanted to give you a really good example of a client where they did this and it actually worked quite well. So it came from a business owner client of ours who they were the owner of multiple businesses. They were husband and wife, and they had interest in property developments. They had an interest in a friend's business, and they were looking at starting their own business. Now, their accountant at the beginning of their business said, look, you can set up all these different structures, you can set up different entities, but really from an accounting point of view, it's going to be so much easier if we just have one entity to own all your businesses. So anyone who knows anything about structuring and asset protection knows that that's a bad idea. But their accountant, they had their own reasons for doing it. They thought it would be simpler, but they didn't understand the different liability point of view. So what happened was, as these guys kept on building their business and they added more income streams to their business, they did not reassess their business structure, and they left it in a state that was actually really bad for their business. So they had all these different property investments that were all in one entity. They had different property investments are all in one entity. And what they didn't realise, and what their accountant didn't realise, was when they had that in place, they were running the risk of, if they got sued for some reason, that they would lose everything. They would lose their business. So you can see that that they really needed to reassess their business structure as they were going, because what they needed was a different entity to own different businesses. So different entities to own their real estate investments, different entities to own their business. And what they didn't do was reassess it as they went. And what that caused was a massive loss that they suffered as a result of having the different entities that were, not having different entities and having the one business entity that owned multiple things. So that's a really good example of well-intentioned advice, but not holistic advice. Any lawyer who knew anything about business structures and the liability that might go between different structures would have known that that was a bad idea. But this client, getting advice from their accountant, which they're more than entitled to do, but their accountant not understanding the perils of the kind of advice that they were giving, could have ended up causing things to go very pear-shaped. So what we were able to do in that case, to round out the story and give you the good oil, was that we were able to divest the structure. So we were able to transfer structures. Property is very difficult, because if you transfer entities, transfer entities that own property, that can cause you a lot of money and a lot of problems. And a lot of stamp duty. So you need to be really careful on that. So they were able to divest their structures, and were able to do it at a cost-effective way. But you can see how it still costs them a lot of money. So that's why you need to look out for. You need to make sure that you get the holistic advice, that you talk to your lawyer, that you talk to your accountant, that you talk to your business mentors and coaches, because it's really important to make sure that you get that holistic advice, and that everyone really understands what they need to do and what they need to achieve, and also that they understand your position completely. Craig, did you want to add anything else to that before we move on to the structures?
Yeah, I think the potential costs of restructuring and looking at these sorts of things against the cost or potential cost of an issue that might arise when you've got it. The structures, like what Jeremy was talking about in that case file, is streets apart. The potential is massive in terms of what the cost could be, or the damage to your business or to yourself, rather than the costs of looking and going through the process of potentially restructuring or reassessing it. It's definitely better, more cost effective to do it that way, for sure, in most cases at least. You definitely need to do the assessment process, and what Jeremy was talking about was what to look out for supports why you need to do it, because getting onto those things early, and it's not that it was wrong in the beginning, as Jeremy said, it's that things have changed and there's now a better way or a different way of doing it that's going to help you even more. So as we all know in business, evolving is the way to keep going, and if you just sort of sit there and don't do anything, then potentially that's what your business is doing as well. So definitely something you need to talk about. So that's what to look out for. And as Jeremy mentioned at the beginning, we were just going to touch on the different sort of structures that are available. We've gone through this before in previous show. I think it was number 3, Jeremy, if our memory serves us correctly, where we spoke about these structures and gave an overview. And obviously these are things that have been around for a while, and the types of structures, and they're a bit more complicated than what we're going to outline today with the diagrams that Jeremy's done up. But it's a good overview, and then you get the advice from the accountant and your lawyer after that. So don't treat this as the only advice that you should be getting about setting up a discretionary trust or whatever it might be. So just an overview. So we're going to talk about companies, discretionary / family trusts, unit trusts, and what was the last one? Partnerships. Yep. So they're the 4. There are other things with Jeremy, what he was talking about before, the case files and the sort of commingling of structures. Superannuation funds, self-managed superannuation funds, are something that you also need to consider, making sure that they've got different entities that are the trustee, those sorts of things. We have had situations in the past where the trustee of the super fund was the same company that was running a different trust through a business, and because the client did the reassessment and went through the process that we're talking about now, we were able to uncover together with their accountant that this wasn't the best way to be doing things. It exposed some assets, and from a protection point of view, it wasn't 100% secure. So because we got onto that during that process, we were able to do some restructuring. There was some costs involved, obviously. There was transfers and those sorts of things, but it was limited in the general scheme of things of limiting that exposure. So it can involve self-managed super funds as well, which is obviously becoming more and more popular. So when you're talking to your accountant and your legal team about these sorts of things, and you've got a self-managed super fund or want to get a self-managed super fund, talk to them about the potential ramifications when you're doing it or before you do it, so you don't go into any issues. So they're the structures. Jeremy, do you want to start off with company?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Craig said, we did talk about structures in show 3. So if you're interested in looking at that from a startup point of view, businesslegallifecycle.com.au/003 takes you to the YouTube video of that one, or you can, if you want to trudge through our Facebook feed on the Facebook page, you can have a look there. But yeah, the first entity is a company. So a company, the best way to think about a company is a separate legal entity to the people behind it. So as you can see from the diagram, and if you are listening to the podcast, I'd encourage you to check us out on the videos, but a company has two main roles. It has its director and it has its shareholder. The director is the one who has the day-to-day control of the company, so they get to make decisions on behalf of the company. And the shareholders are the ones who own the company, and they're the ones who get to basically, are entitled to the capital and the income from the company. Now, why this is important is because a lot of businesses start out as a sole trader. So the sole trader is just the individual by themselves. So it would be Jeremy Stretton trading as Stretton Lawyers, say. Now, the problem with that structure, and we've talked about this before, but we'll talk about it again, is the fact that if I get sued as Jeremy Stretton as trading as Stretton Lawyers, then I'm personally liable. I'm personally liable for all the debts of the business, and if I lost if I got sued for whatever reason, then I would lose the business. The beautiful thing about a company, and the advantage from a legal point of view, is that the company is owned by the shareholders and is run by the director. And so long as you don't what we call insolvent trading, and we can talk about that in more detail or we have talked about that in more detail in other shows, then you can avoid liability as a director for the debts of the company. So when you're a sole trader, you really need to think about rolling over into either a company, and Craig will talk about discretionary trusts in a minute. But these are important because the company is a separate legal entity. It's there to protect you and your business and your other assets. And when you have a company that is a trading company, so it's trading a business, you want to make sure that that company is just runs that business. So as Craig said before, there are other entities, and as I used the example before, other entities can own multiple businesses. Well, if you're running a company, you really want that entity and that company to be solely operating that business. You want that company to be separate, because if you don't, then you could lose out big time. You could lose everything in the examples that we've given before. So a company is the first structure. Really important, very, very common. They've been around for over 100 years, and they're a perfectly legal way of structuring your affairs and are very important. Craig, do you want to talk about discretionary trusts?
Yeah, so discretionary trust, probably the most popular asset protection strategy, together with the company as the corporate trustee. So as we said, we've spoken about trust before, and if you're watching this, you can see the diagram on there, and you've got the trust in the middle, you've got the trustee who has legal ownership, and you've got the appointor, and that's the person that can appoint or remove a new trustee. Then you've got the beneficiaries, which is obviously the people that are underneath or within the trust, and they've got what's called beneficial ownership to the trust. So it's a way of, there's a number of advantages of having a trust structure, asset protection, there's tax reasons, those sorts of things. So again, you'll be talking to your accountant and your lawyer about that as to why you're going to do it. You don't just do it just because it seems like a great idea. You actually want to do it because there's a reason behind it. So there are, obviously the whole point of this is to protect individuals, because they're the ones that are potentially going to get sued and those sorts of things. So this is a way of doing that and protecting the trust assets, because you can change trustees, etc., if there's an issue with the trustee and debts owed by that trustee, so you can change the trustee if you've got it set up correctly. So it's an important asset protection strategy, the discretionary, or it's also called a family, normally a family trust. And as the title describes, it's at the discretion of the trustee as to how things are going to be distributed in amongst the trust. So that's an important distinction between the discretionary trust and the next one that Jeremy's going to talk about, which is the unit trust. So yeah, discretionary trust, popular strategy, and definitely one that you need to consider when you're doing this. And you would have spoken to your accountant potentially at the beginning of your business about it, and it could be something that wasn't the idea then, but is now. So, and that's the whole point of the reassessment process. So, discretionary trust, Jeremy, unit trust.
Yeah, unit trust. So as Craig said, unit trust is similar to a discretionary trust. It has the trust structure, but it's slightly different in the sense that you have the trustee who acquires the legal ownership, and then you've got unit holders. And I like to think of a unit trust a bit like a company. Your trustee is kind of like the director who gets to make the decisions, whereas the unit holders actually own the units and actually own beneficially the business or property or whatever the trust actually owns. So a unit trust is a really interesting structure, because what it does is it gives you the advantages of a lot of the tax breaks that trusts get, as well as giving you the flexibility of a trust structure or a company structure where you can have different people owning different units. So if Craig and I were in a unit trust together, we could have our company be the trustee of a unit trust, and we could own the shares or the units, in the unit trust equally, and then we would be able to take advantage of the tax benefits of doing that. So unit trusts are really important. They are a structure that people don't use as much as they used to. A lot of accountants have shied away from them because a lot of the tax advantages have gone away, but they're still an important structure to know. There's still many of them out there. They're also one that's used in property development. So when you're thinking about property development, you might want to think about that kind of structure. But yeah, unit trusts, really important. Make sure that you understand them. Make sure you understand what they are. And if you're not sure, either go back and watch our more in-depth show back in show 3, or speak to your accountant or lawyer. Craig, do you want to do the last one, partnership?
Yeah. So partnerships, as I said, if you can see it, there's obviously two entities that form a partnership. Pretty straightforward. Could be the two entities could be two different companies or two individuals. It's probably an older sort of structure that a lot of law firms, accountancy firms, those sorts of things used to always be, or could only be partnerships rather than companies, and that's changed over the last 10 or so years, that you can be a company now in those fields, but it used to always be a partnership. So, and there are still partnerships in existence, but I guess the main one that we probably see more often now is sort of like a joint venture partnership for a property development or a property purchase or something along those lines. So there'll be a partnership between the entities, and we'd encourage everyone to have a partnership agreement rather than just relying on the legislation, and that'll dictate the way the partnership is to go, and if someone needs to get out or something happens to someone, if they pass away, those sorts of things, there'll be a process in place for that. So that's something that if you started off in business and you've got someone else coming on board as part of the maximising your business, then you might be thinking about a partnership if it's suited to that. But again, important to get the advice about these sorts of things and don't just jump into a partnership, because it may not be the best structure from a liability point of view going forward. It might be better to think about the discretionary trust and with the corporate trustee rather than the partnership. So that's the last one. Jeremy, is there anything you wanted to add with that?
No, that's good. I think that gives a really good overview of the different type of structures that are there and the reasons for reassessing the structures. So as always, we're happy to answer questions and to provide as much help as we can to you, whether or not you're listening to us on the podcast or watching us on Facebook, Periscope or YouTube. You can email us at lifecycle@jeremystretton.com. You can connect with us on Facebook. If you're not already, if you haven't liked our Facebook page, please do. We are putting up lots of content on the Business Legal Lifecycle page. We want you to be able to get the information that you need to help build your business. and we've got some really exciting shows coming up, coming into the future. We're really excited about what's happening in 2018. We've got lots and lots of stuff lined up for you, great interviews and really great information. And so look, please like our page, please follow us, ask us any questions. We're more than happy to help out. Craig, did you have anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, no, we'd love your feedback about anything good or bad, I guess, but mainly good. Thanks. About the shows or any topics that you think we need to talk about or touch on again or whatever it might be, or if you just got a question about business and legal things, we're happy to help out. So yeah, that's Wednesday. We'll be back again on Monday for Fast Fix Monday, and we hope you can join us then. Thank you everyone for coming along.
Thanks everyone.